for him to give me the green light. We good to go, Mike Crowley? Good? Awesome. How's everyone doing tonight? Good. Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming out. A bit more intimate of a crowd, so I look forward to taking your questions. I've gotten the chance to meet almost every single one in this room, and most of you have gotten to know me. So grew up in Elk Grove Village, not too far from here. Born in Chicago, but grew up in the 8th Congressional District. We moved to Elk Grove when I was 10. And I've been saying my entire life, I've got my incredible mother who's out supporting me again this evening. But honestly, it was what I learned from my mom that inspired me to want to live a life of public service. I saw her leading the restaurant and constantly giving back to the surrounding community. And at a very young age, I witnessed firsthand the inequities that existed all around us. And I wanted to be part of the solution. I didn't know what job that would end up culminating in, but I knew that it needed to be directed into positively impacting the communities around us, making this world better for everyone. And you could ask my ma yourself, the book nerd I was growing up, but studying political science and environmental science at DePaul, I didn't know where my path would ultimately lead, but after starting off as an environmental activist, I ended up getting involved with candidate campaigns, and I really enjoyed getting out, speaking with voters, hearing what issues they were dealing with, and trying to find solutions, and also educating them about the incredible candidates they had the opportunity to vote for. And then ultimately led to me being on the Hillary Clinton campaign for 2 years. I was in charge of Northeast Ohio, 4 counties, had 10 staff under me. And when I did not end up getting that job with the administration like I was supposed to, what did I do? I came right back home and got involved with our local parties and ended up working for our, still current Congressman, Raja Krishnamurthy, who's now running for U.S. Senate, who's opened up this seat and allowed me this newer opportunity. But it was while I was working for him that I learned that my predecessor didn't have an opponent. That was the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, the guy who gave Illinois delegates to Donald Trump in 2016, and I could not see him run unopposed. And when I took him on, no one thought I had a chance of winning. Similar situation with all the dark money being funneled in this current race. But you know what? We, once again, in that race, pulled above our weight class. We won by 10,000 votes, and I became Cook County's youngest and first openly LGBT county commissioner, as well as the first Democrat to ever hold the seat. So why is that important? Because in this moment, we need people with track records of taking on Republicans and winning. But also the experience I've had the last 7 years, getting real, meaningful, and impactful things through the finish line, being able to work with my colleagues and passing incredibly impactful policies. We have created at Cook County a brand new Department of Mental and Behavioral Health. It is something that no county has ever tried to do. It would make Cook County the first county in the nation to fill every gap in the mental and behavioral health space. Thank you. Honestly, I wish I currently covered all 3 of these counties, because this is a program I want to bring nationally. The residents in Kane and DuPage should also have access to those types of resources. Healthcare is incredibly important to me. It's something I want to fight for in Congress. I want to see us finally get to universal healthcare. But back to what I've been able to do on the county board. We are a 17-member board. When I was elected, I was 28 years old. And I'm the guy who made reproductive health care and gender identity a protected class for 5.2 million people. I passed our residential tenant and landlord ordinance, which protects our renters. It used to be the case that if your landlord was breaking the law, the only way you could have justice is if you could afford an attorney. Now in Cook County, for all of our municipalities, our 5.2 million residents, if your landlord is found to be breaking the law, they're responsible for your attorney fees. So it gives everyone their day in court. Similar to our immigrant community, I was a sponsor of the creation of our immigration court at Cook County, allowing services for individuals so that they could have their day in court, either on their pathway to legal status or to keep their legal status to remain in this country. There's so much at stake in this moment. We have an unhinged president who has literally tried to take all constitutional authority away from our Congress. He has put politics into our judiciary system, and it's not something that I was willing to see occur. And so when this seat became open, the day that Raja announced for U.S. Senate ended up being the day that I took my third oath to the Constitution, this time being sworn in as an attorney. And that next Monday, I jumped into this race because I did not go to law school for 5.5 years to see our Constitution torn to shreds. And so I have been able to culminate experience of taking on Republicans and winning, getting major policies through the finish line. And right now we need fighters with backbone and grit in Congress to not only help us win back the House, but to make sure that we are passing forward policies that help everyday Americans do better, that actually are focused on the middle and working class, but also putting forward legislation to ensure that we are a check on this president, but we ensure that no future president could do what he's doing. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to run. I'm proud of the campaign we're currently running. It has been nonstop, 9.5 months. The fact that I still have a voice is a miracle. And with that, I just want to thank you all for coming out. For those of you who I'm still working hard to earn your support, I hope I do. There's a lot at stake in this 8th Congressional District race. We need to make sure all of our friends are pulling Democratic ballots, and we're actually voting for someone from the district. There's a lot of dark money coming in behind Melissa Bean right now. Over $4 million have been spent. And she lives in Barrington, which is Quigley's district, who's endorsed me in this run for Congress. And so I'm proud of that fact. And so with that, I'm happy to take your questions. I'm an open book. I've held an open door policy as a county commissioner, and I'll do the same in Congress.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, I'm thinking of different questions as he's talking. Oh, am I not loud enough?
No, it's just a little bit.
Sure. Hi, Michelle. Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Good to see you.
Glad to hear everything you said. Kat, I'll probably pronounce her name wrong. Kat
Agabuzadale.
She's running to take Jan Jankowski's seat. I don't know what media platform she was on the other day. Biss was there, and she was there, and another candidate, I don't know who it was. And they were asked a question about, would you challenge Hakeem Jeffries' leadership? And they all had placards, so they didn't get to respond verbally. It was just a placard, a yes/no placard. And Biss was just like, he didn't know what to do.
Right in the middle, I saw it.
Yeah, right. Well, but first he didn't know what to do. Kat was just no, right or yes, whatever she said. She would challenge him. And the other candidate was kind of like she didn't know either. And and I've met Kat a couple of times, and I just think she's great. I wish I was in her district. I'd vote for her. So as I hear you talking and you're saying, I want to challenge Republicans and this, but are you ready to challenge the establishment Democrats?
Yeah. I mean,
Because
they're
a lot of them
challenging
are
me right
not
now.
doing what they need to do.
Oh my gosh, no, I agree with you. We have a hardcore messaging problem in our Democratic Party. It's one of the reasons I was contemplating when I decided to run for Congress. We have too many self-interested voices on both sides of the aisle, because it's not just on the Republican side. We've got it on the Democrat side as well. And we need folks who are actually like myself. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I literally try to meet as many people as possible because I genuinely want to hear what issues they're dealing with, and I want to find solutions. We need more caring people in this world. And right now we have a Congress that allows people like Marjorie Taylor Greene to go there and leave after just several years with $24 million in the pocket. That is ridiculous. Our Congress members should be going there to serve the people, not themselves in their own pocketbooks. And it's one of the reasons why I am in full support of not allowing Congress members to trade in stocks. No member of Congress should be able to benefit from that role. It is an honor to be even able to run for Congress, but to serve. And I'll have over 766,000 constituents. And my pledge is I'll continuously be meeting with them, finding out what issues they're dealing with, and making sure that we start delivering real results for them. Now, when it comes to the leadership, I've said this on multiple occasions. My vote for Speaker will be reserved for someone who is convinced me that they will be a good messenger for our party and be able to return faith in our electorate that their federal officials are actually fighting for them.
It's really sad. I mean, everything that Trump and the Republican Party has done, I mean, but for the Democratic Party, it's just so many silver platters. Like, they could run on so many different things because every day, the amount of corruption, the amount of things that they're doing, the amount of stuff that's going on in the Epstein files, and they're missing the beat everywhere it goes. Yeah. I have one follow-up question for you.
Sure.
So you want to take care of mental health. You want universal health care. You want to do all these great and wonderful things. In my own little humble citizen opinion, like, the money's got to come from somewhere, right? And, what was it, 90% on 4 million during FDR. What can you do to raise the money on the tax basis to support all these programs and get the 1%ers to pay their fair share?
Yeah, well, what does our horrible president say, Donald Trump, that he's so proud to be a billionaire, and how much in income tax has he been paying over the last decade? We have a broken taxation system. We need a progressive taxing system. We need one where the wealthiest amongst us cannot just write off their losses and never pay in income taxes while they continue to get richer. That's how our current system operates, and that needs to be addressed. Also, we could strengthen programs like Social Security. Right now, we give a tax break to everyone who makes over $174,000 a year. Every single dollar over $174,000, they no longer have to pay into Social Security. Why are they getting that break? And that's why I am running on a platform of either fully scrapping the cap or drastically increasing the minimum, or the maximum, rather. And so we also have a system where individuals aren't being paid salaries. The highest income earners tend to just be paid in stocks, and what they do is instead pull out loans on their investments and still never have to pay income tax. So one thing we can do is have it so that when it is that category of individuals, right, the wealthiest amongst us, when they are pulling out those loans on what equities they have to pay a tax. And that's one way to bring new revenue from the people who could actually afford to give it, to ensure that we see pathways like every other industrialized country. Every industrialized country in this world but the United States, and we're supposed to be the richest, guarantees affordable healthcare and higher education. If every other nation similarly situated could do it, so can we. And that's what I'm going to fight, to make sure that we rework our entire taxation system, that the wealthiest amongst us no longer are able to deal with these loopholes and not pay their fair share, and finally reinvest it in the people who need it the most, which is our working and middle class families. So that's how I plan on doing that. It's going to take a lot of legislation, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I'm going to go back. It's going to take good messengers, because what our members of Congress time and time again do is, when there's enough will and pressure from the people on the ground, it forces their hand even if they don't want to vote in that manner. And so if we have messengers who could explain all these intricacies that need to be addressed in a manner that is understandable, the majority 100% will be in support of addressing it. And so that is how we get the pressure on our elected officials to finally take up the right votes to, for one, fix our broken taxation system as it is today, but also expand access to healthcare and higher education. It's a complex question. And yes, I could whittle it down to 30-second sound bites when I need to, when I get to Congress.
Hi, Kevin. What will you do to further influence and get Gen Z involved in politics? Because I think that's such an important part of the community and society in the future.
Yeah, I thank you for that question. For one, you shouldn't just be meeting with people who have the capacity to vote for you, right? Because you represent everyone in that district, even the younger generations. And so over the last several weeks, I've been joining high schoolers as they've been walking out in protest. I was just at Palatine High School today with a bunch of Gen Z folk who took to the streets to fight back against ICE. So for one, meeting with them. But, and hey, I remember when I was in high school. I know that people in their early to mid 30s, like myself now, I thought of as old. And now people look at me as young, it is such a catch-22, but being relatable is also important, right? Something that sets me apart from other elected officials is, for one, I do not burn bridges, I don't hold grudges, and I don't cause bad blood. I work hard to make people who look at me as their enemy my friend. Because in politics, you need as many allies as possible if you're going to get really big things to the finish line. But also, I don't look at any title as making me better than another person. I have colleagues on the county board who think that because they became elected as a commissioner, it makes them better than regular county staff. And I get thanked all the time for treating our staffers at the county with respect. And it actually makes me uncomfortable, right? Like, no job title makes you better than any other job that exists. Every job has worth and is giving back to our society. So when I'm in Congress, I'm not gonna be, for one, upset if someone calls me Kevin. I'm Kevin Morrison today. You can call me Kevin. You don't have to call me commissioner. But no title is gonna make me better than anyone else. And I think that's gonna be important in being able to talk to our younger generations, meeting with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, explaining what our government does, but also, hearing what issues they care about, hearing what, their dreams and aspirations are, because our elected officials should care about them too, because they might not be able to vote today, but in the future they will be. And they're also your constituents and people you should be representing as well.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, I'm also the chairman of technology and innovation, so being fine-tuned and active on any new social media platform that will come into existence in the future. Because I know that'll be the best way to speak to our younger generations.
Kevin, one of my concerns is people not showing up, our politicians not showing up. And I would like to know if, when you're elected, are you going to have town halls? Are you going to let us know what's going on?
Yeah.
In your opinion, and just solidly what's going on? And because Rasha doesn't do that. And I want to see that somebody that I choose is going to do that.
Yeah. Well, if you've been paying attention to our social media platforms, what my supporters say is Kevin Morrison always shows up. And honestly, we have too many elected officials who only show up during election season. I've never been that person, right? When there have been issues that have been impacted, the ban the books at our libraries and at our schools, I showed up to library board meetings and spoke out. I showed up at school board meetings and spoke out. I just recently went to my own mayor and village board in Mount Prospect and called out our village board for not having backbone to ban ICE from village property. And so the simple answer to your question is I will continue showing up because I cannot adequately represent the residents of this district unless I'm meeting with them and hearing what issues and concerns they have in that moment. And even if something I do is unpopular, that doesn't mean I cancel a town hall. And they should be in person. We should have as many in-person town halls as possible. So I will continue meeting with our residents, allowing an open door policy, allowing opportunities for them to meet with me in district or when they're in DC. And yes, my simple answer to you is I'm committed to continuously meeting with our residents. It's something I'm really happy I was able to do successfully as a commissioner, and I would 100% do so as a congressperson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we got a mini mic.
I was wondering, how do you maintain your values and things that you support and yet reach across the aisle to Republicans and get them on board without compromising and convincing them that your approach is going to be beneficial to them too? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had to do it as a commissioner, and one thing I'm really proud of is, when my colleague Scott Britton put forward something that was pro-choice, one of my counterparts, one of the Republicans of our board, called him out on social media, and he actually got death threats. He was told by his church he would no longer receive communion. But I'm the type of person who really likes to find common ground with everyone. We might have severe disagreements on core issues, but if I find a point of commonality, that's what I'm gonna fine-tune myself on. And I was able to build a relationship with this commissioner on, retaining our authority at the county to pass forward contracts, right? What they were trying to do is allow for department heads to expand the limit of what contracts they could enter into without the county board giving it a vote. And it was me and Sean Morrison, the other Morrison. I'm often called the better Morrison, the good Morrison, the non-Republican Morrison. But I worked with him on retaining that authority within the county board so that we could continue to be fiscally responsible, and that authority wouldn't be taken away from us when we go into our board meetings. And because of the relationship we built, I actually got him to vote yes for the first time ever in support of reproductive health care. And that's when we made it a protected class for 5.2 million people. So what I'm trying to say by that story is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find what points of commonalities, issue areas, be it childhood traumas, wherever I could find common ground with someone from the other side, I'm gonna use that as a way to build a relationship and find where we could actually work together to get big things done. Because, how things are shaped right now, there's often gonna be times where we'll go from the majority to the minority or have being it slim one way or the other. It's gonna take sometimes being able to reach across the aisle to get big things done. And being able to build that relationship is fundamental and something I've done a really good job at. It's one of the reasons why I have 13 of our mayors in the 8th Congressional District endorsing our campaign. Because they tell me, even if we disagree on certain issues, for one, I know you pick up the phone, and if you miss it, I'm guaranteed to call back. And accessibility is key, not only with our residents, but with our local elected officials as well.
I'm sorry, I do. The environment has been kicked to the curb by Trump. I mean, it's just radical what he's done. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on protecting our environment.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for the question. I actually got my start as an environmental activist. I started off in college volunteering for the Sierra Club and the Illinois Coalition for a moratorium on hydraulic fracturing. Very long name, I know. I wish there was an easy acronym that we could use. But, I studied environmental science in college. It was actually my biology 2 teacher, my senior year of high school, who, he goes, I might get in trouble for telling you this, but, it's not necessarily part of the criteria, but it is our current circumstance, and right now we're in a 6th mass extinction. It is what sparked my interest in getting more involved with the environment. I started volunteering in our forest preserves, again, removing buckthorn, which is kind of coincidental. Now I'm a Forest Preserve District Commissioner as well, because at Cook County we wear both hats. And now I'm able to invest money in our volunteers that go throughout Cook County Forest Preserves to remove buckthorn. But we are coming so close to so many more breaking points that potentially puts not only our ecosystems at risk, but humanity's chance of continuing to be able to thrive on this planet at risk. I drive an electric vehicle. I'm proud that I led the charge to get every county property to install electric charging stations, and then we went a step further. We now have 300 charging stations we put out there in areas that had limited access. And right now, a top issue that we keep hearing about is all these data centers, right? Which take a lot of energy, which are causing homeowners and business owners costs to rise. All while these data centers make tons of money, have few staff, and could be investing more in the communities that they're going into, right? They should be responsible for the extra cost of energy that's falling on. This is another tax break that we give to the uber wealthy who don't need it. So that's something that needs to be addressed. Also, I think requiring them to utilize renewable energy sources needs to be incorporated, and that's across the board, right? We need to see our federal government, once again, reinvesting not only in research to continue us on that renewable energy course, but getting us moving up the pace to actually getting to a point in time where we are almost wholly dependent on renewable energy sources. It's the only thing that's going to safeguard our planet for the long run. And so environmental issues are critically important to me. I have a heart. I care about our future generations. And my two nephews and my niece are 7, 5, and 3. And I think all the time of what kind of planet they're going to be living on. When just in the course of my lifetime, we saw Tornado Alley go from St. Louis to the Wisconsin border. We are now part of Tornado Alley. It's one of the reasons why I created an annually renewing $100 million disaster relief fund, which I wish we never had to do, but we do because we have so many more flooding and tornadic events within Cook County. And so reinvesting in FEMA, making sure that we are better prepared for future natural disasters, but also getting us to a quicker pace to be mostly reliable on clean energy sources needs to be a top priority in Congress. No, thank you.
I think you know what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about immigration. We don't hear an awful lot about comprehensive immigration reform. It was once a bipartisan issue. Our current Secretary of State sponsored a bill with Dick Durbin that would have, if it had been passed, we would have had a pathway to citizenship for many undocumented people in this country. Right now we're talking about deportations, detaining illegal criminals, as our administration calls them, but they are not. What will you do once in Congress to bring back discussions on comprehensive immigration reform?
Well, first and foremost, we need to address what is happening with ICE and what this president is allowed to unfold in our streets. One of my first acts, I said it when I was on the Patty Vasquez show earlier today, is those 60,000 new hired ICE agents that have come on board when these raids began need to be immediately put on leave and have actual completed background checks placed on them, because there are fears that pardoned Jan 6ers are now federal employees working for ICE. And that is a disgrace. For one, every illegal action ICE has done needs to be held to account and needs to go through our legal system. Kristi Noem needs to be impeached. And yes, we need comprehensive immigration reform. It's the right thing to do. We haven't seen it in 50 years. When I was in law school, I took immigration law. I saw how broken our immigration system is. I have a lot of ideas of how to address it. And one of those is finally investing in our immigration courts, and in the right way, and ensuring that the right people are at the helm, actually looking over those courtrooms. But right now, if you come to the border and file for asylum, you entering under asylum actually does not make you illegal. That is a legal pathway into this nation once your asylum case reaches fruition. Now, if the court ultimately decides that you have not provided a claim that should grant you permanent asylum, well, that's a different story what happens next, right? But we have an entire media ecosystem in this country that has demonized immigrants. Now, everyone in this room, if you didn't immigrate yourself, is the descendant of immigrants. I don't see, unless you are Native American, your family's immigrated here. And so having a functioning immigration system has been incredibly important to the development of this nation and how we got here today. My mom's parents were off the boat Italians. I know you're Italian yourself. Io parlo in Italiano. I speak Italian and Spanish. It's another story. But how we have allowed our media ecosystem to, for one, completely brainwash individuals. I was knocking doors. It was a Christian Iraqi who had survived a car bomb, who spent 5 years in Qatar before he was allowed asylum in the United States. Now I'm talking to him at his door. It's during my re-election year, so it was 21, 22. And he's telling me how horrible J.B. Pritzker is. Governor Abbott is the best. And he's doing such a great job busing all those illegals to Illinois. And I spent 40 minutes with this guy. Luckily, it was my last tour, so I had the time. But I was trying to wheedle out all the misinformation he had learned, actually explaining to him the realities, and trying to get him to recognize that the people he was talking about were people just like himself who filed for asylum and ultimately were allowed legal status and continued status to remain in the United States. By the end of that conversation, he looked at me and he goes, "You know what, Kevin? You're really smart and I respect you." And so it's not easy, especially when people are so incredibly brainwashed in this moment. But I try, for one, when I have disagreements with others, to approach it in a place that is not going to burn that bridge, right? Like, we can disagree, but we can do it amicably. But also, it gives me the opportunity for them to also have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the issue. So that's why I hope to be really successful in finally seeing what is really needed, which is massive immigration reforms in this nation. The entire system is practically broken. And it does not give anyone any service, right? Like, no one I've spoke to thinks it's okay for hardened criminals, people who have trafficked in humans or trafficked drugs or have committed murder. Like, these are not the people we're talking about. We're talking about, individuals with no criminal records who are the breadwinners of their families being detained at their job sites even when they have legal status to work here. That's what I witnessed firsthand in Elk Grove Village. 20 individuals detained. We only know where one of the 20 is today. Like, they are not going after hardened criminals. And so, I had a conversation with Michael, who works for my team, earlier today. The crowd in Palatine was solemn, right? Like, they had a lot of ICE actions occur there. A lot of the individuals who walked out were Latino and Latina individuals. And you could just feel the trauma oozing off of them. It was different than many of the other schools walkouts I had joined. And so that is something I think about as well, is how do we fix and provide assistance and try to heal as best we can these individuals who've been so overly traumatized in this moment with what we've seen by ICE. I hope that answered your question. There's got to be more questions.
Oh, I'm waiting.
All right. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't logging your question.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So there's the tech oligarchy. You said something about tech background a few minutes ago. I didn't quite catch all of that.
Yeah.
So we had Steve Bannon and Gamergate, and he sees all of this male grievance out in the world, and he harnesses that, and he's able to churn up and get people all angry. And there's all sorts of forces that are messing with culture wars to make us be distracted over there.
Yeah.
While they're deregulating and they're making other plans, and they give us these little sound bites. Let's make it about Roe v. Wade, and let's make it about this, and let's make it about that. And in the meantime, these one percenters or whoever are meeting together to make these other plans what they really want to do with the country. Mm-hmm. And so you've got Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, David Sachs, and all of these people who want to break us up into these little feudal states.
Yep.
And, take us back to I don't know what years the feudalistic societies were, but they want to take us back to these horrible medieval times.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is because of social media, tech oligarchy. You got the Ellisons who are about to have, an empire over mainstream media and TikTok and social. So, other than getting money to beef up the social safety nets and mental health care, to me, it's like, if we have this blue wave, and there should be no reason to think we're not going to have free and fair elections. I mean, we really should have them. And the Democrats come in, and if they don't get in there right away and really bring stuff to show people that they can do stuff, then the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to have somebody worse than Trump.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really big question. So you want to narrow that down. Like, what can you do against all of these it's like the Republicans and the right have so many strategies working against. A lot of this is being revealed in the Epstein files. It's absolutely fascinating. It's horrifying, but it's fascinating. And it's like the Democrats, there's no strategy. So what do you think you can do? And I know you really want to represent the 8th, but what can you do to combat all these tentacles of forces?
Well, I already talked to you about getting through this primary and helping elect great candidates across this nation, because I want to make sure we have the best bench possible when we retake the House and hopefully the Senate as well. And there's it's a very long question, and there's so many different points that I want to address in it. I like that you mentioned the broligarchy. I honestly think being a true bro is respecting women. We need to, I think one of our biggest problems is, people have for one reason or another, been able to utilize bringing equity forward for individuals who have been historically discriminated against and convince men, and predominantly white men, that takes away from their ability to succeed in this country. And it's not true. It's not. I honestly believe, and this is what I talk to when I'm speaking with youth, if you have a goal, you hold that right in your center and keep fighting for it, and you will make it a reality, right? No one thought some 27-year-old queer dude was going to be able to flip a district blue for the first time in history. And I think, for one, when it comes to this messed up social media ecosystem we have, it is going to take better messengers, right? We need elected officials who are going to be able to spread a message that is going to be able to continue to go viral and educate the masses, right? Because unfortunately, not enough folks pay attention to the news. They don't read the papers, they don't have news apps on their phones, they're not reading articles or articles that aren't actually reliable. They're not like me, and when they wake up, they do not put on different news podcasts when they're getting ready in the morning to get them up to speed on what's occurring both locally, nationally, and internationally. I know I'm not your typical person. But I do think it's important, especially when I'm meeting someone who's completely brainwashed, to be able to go there with as many tools in my toolbox as possible to address every misconceived notion that they're coming with me at. For one, they deserve our time. They shouldn't be shamed for thinking a certain way. But it does take a certain kind of individual to be able to have that conversation, and you need as much knowledge as possible. And I'm a history junkie. I love reading. When I'm not running for Congress, my favorite pastime is reading books. I don't get to do that as much anymore. I'm still keeping up, for the most part, on most of my podcasts. But it's going to take, for one, new policies, and we have to be smart with how we do it, because we do have freedom of speech in this nation, but you cannot bill yourself as reliable news when you're only, pushing forward falsehoods and opinion. So we can mandate at the federal level that they have to push, a notification or some way notifying the public that what they're listening to is predominantly opinion or is not coming from reliable sources. That's something our federal government can do. But also, we need to be more innovative. We need a better plan. We need to actually implement it. The right had Project 2025. Where's our Democratic Party today talking about Project 2026 when we retake the House? Why don't we have a plan in place? We've got wealthy supporters who could be investing in that. And so, first and foremost, I need to win this race. But I'm thinking of that, right? We got to be strategic. We got to play the same game the other side is doing. And that does not mean, breaking the law and tearing our Constitution to shreds, but it means coming to the fight as a fighter and not just backing down. And so we need new energy. We need new energy. We need people who actually care, and we need less people who are bought and sold by their wealthy donors and more grassroots candidates. That's why I also am in strong support of getting rid of these super PACs' abilities to buy our elections, as well as in support of publicly funding elections, especially when you've got self-funders in the race, like I have 5 in mine, so that we can see more working class people in Congress.
Now, it was, I have a restaurant, and I walk into the bar, and the speech is on, so I'm watching it. I think I'm loud enough. I don't even think this works. Is it working? Okay, so I walk in the bar, and it's on, and just to watch him, the little bit I did, I walked out because, I'm needed in many directions there, and I come back in. It was terrible. It was like, how do I say that this man is my president? That just the way he holds himself, and now to sit here, and yes, I'm probably biased, he's my son, but no, to sit here and listen to you speak, Kevin, if I just met you today, was like a pleasure. But to hear, just to watch his little mouth on that TV yesterday was like, what? Like, and then the people, they were all standing up clapping. I'm like, who is paying those people?
Unfortunately, we are.
There we go. There we go. How do we
our
get you
income tax dollars.
viral
Oh my
and get
God.
people to listen? Just these few little questions that we had here. I'm sure there's many more questions, but it was a pleasure to hear you speak.
It causes.
I don't know.
It causes me pain to watch how.
That was terrible.
I just it baffles me that individuals could look at him and think he's intelligent, or think he could be a leader, or think that he could be president. But we also have to remember, we also live in a nation, and a lot of us are fortunate. I went to well-funded public schools, and not everyone has that access. And unfortunately, we do have an education crisis in this nation when it comes to K through 12 public education. Our Supreme Court said that there is no right to public education under our Constitution, but through government action, we've created a right to a basic public education. I think that is a fundamental issue with us as a nation. It impacts our productivity, economic development, but also our safety. And it's one of the reasons why I was so honored to earn the endorsement of the Illinois Federation of Teachers, because one of my core tenets of this campaign is the fact that once I'm in Congress, I want to see far more federal funding for public education, because in the richest nation in the world, it shouldn't matter on what zip code you live in, everyone should be able to access high quality public education. Like, why are we not investing in our youth? It is an easy way to safeguard our nation for the futures, but our federal government wants they want us as complacent as possible. And one way they are able to do so successfully is to ensure that you do not get an adequate education. And unfortunately, it has brought us to today.
My daughter is, I graduated DePaul myself, and she graduated from DePaul herself, and she's got a...
Go Blue Demons!
Yeah, all right. She is doing a lot of part-time work to make ends. I mean, she's out there all the time, but now my other daughter just lost her job. So here I am, I want to retire, and I can't because, I'm supporting my two children. Anyway, so she just got a job at Huntington Center recently, so she's part-time helping out, and she's like, Mom, this is so horrible. These kids who go to these charter schools, and money gets diverted from our public schools to help for the charter schools, and she's like, and it's Lincoln Park, it's not unwealthy, they're very wealthy there. Yeah. She's like, these kids, they can't sit still, they're not thinking, and not that that's a question, I was just commenting there on how, where do you stand on student loan forgiveness?
100% in support. 100% in support. Not even a save. I'm going to go down that hole. Why are they so fidgety? We now have data of when it's appropriate to give a smart device to a child. Yeah. And it is not when they're a baby. I can't, what is it, like 2-3 years old or even higher? Either way, our technology is really destroying core tenets of us. There's so many, I mean, I was talking to folks and they were like, oh, the freshman class, like no one's going out and making friends. They're just at home and FaceTiming their high school friends. And that's a problem. That's not how it was when I was in college. And I think that also, opens up questions for what the future is going to look like too, right? I mean, human interaction is what is natural to our species. And I feel like right now our country's getting more divided, and our younger folk who are so tragically online all the time are not interacting with other human beings. And one of the reasons I'm before you today was my ability to meet so many different people growing up, right? Like I grew up in my family's restaurant where I not only got to meet the staff there, but all the customers coming in. And then, I was lucky to have grandparents who had a condo in Florida. And so we would go there, for spring break in summer. And it's in Panama City Beach, Florida, which is, my fiance's from Tampa. He often says, that's not my Florida. And I now know that the folks in, Central and Southern Florida call that the Redneck Riviera. They're like, oh, that's practically Alabama. They're being mean, but I understand where they're coming from, because what did I witness? I was meeting kids that were the same age as me who were enrolled in public schools in southern states and clearly were not getting the same educational resources I was getting. So I started learning that as a little kid, that other people my age going to public schools in other states or in other communities and these were white kids for the most part, were not getting the same opportunities. That's the origin story of that passion of what I'm running on today and fighting for public education. But also, like, a quarter of my family's in Italy. They don't have to worry about going 6 figures in debt to get a higher education. We need to be doing a better job investing to make sure higher education is affordable and accessible to all, as well as allowing individuals who want to go into trades to go into pathways, to go and train and go down that path as well. We could be doing a smarter job. A lot of places in Europe actually test you in your primary school days on what your strengths are. And they try to give you options of where you go to for high school, which is more career directed. Like, are you someone who is better in the arts? Are you more of a science nerd, a math, what have you? And it actually gets kids thinking at an earlier age what they want to do with their careers in the future. We do a really poor job of that here. I think it's probably like 7 out of 10, if not higher, of senior high school graduates that have no idea what they want to do for a career. I was that weird guy who knew it at like 10 years old. It needed to be directed at helping other people. No matter what job it is, I have to help people.
Can you circle back to AI since we're talking about education?
Yeah.
Thank you again. I'm sorry, did anybody else want to?
No, you can keep asking.
Can you circle back to AI on this? Because part of thinking about your future is like, what job are you going to have? And, there's a lot of dismay right now, particularly with my daughter and her colleagues, about getting a job, and the job's just all going to be taken away. I mean, even in the job that I have right now. But I don't know that our country has the moral compass to handle AI. It seems to me, from what I've been reading, it's more like a planet and people killer than anything else. Yeah. It could do wonderful things, but when you look at what the people are doing now who are running the government, they just don't have the right moral compass. They're putting out chatbots to younger people, and we're already human beings who are anxiety ridden because we're constantly doom scrolling or whatever. There's so much coming at us all the time. You start doing that, our younger children. But there's the water problems in Nebraska. There's the big data center there, and people are just getting terrible upper respiratory problems now from that. I certainly don't want a data center coming anywhere. I think there are some data centers near us, but any worse ones coming near us. So, AI just seems like it has so many problems with it. Where do you stand on AI?
Yeah, and you're literally asking that question, whose main opponent is endorsed by Skynet and the Terminator.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but if you're going to cause the end of the world, what's the point?
100%. We're actually in Illinois. We are witnessing a case study, and it's not It's getting some coverage. I wish it was breaking through even more. But right now, we have a conglomerate of artificial intelligence corporations who have created a super PAC who are investing over $1 million into Melissa Bean. Yep. And you know what? The ads come across, think big. But you know what? A couple of the ones I've seen recently actually say .ai. So you actually know it's coming from artificial intelligence companies. And this group supports zero regulation of AI. So when you're talking about those most horrific, worst case scenarios, they're backing Melissa Bean in this race. And maybe it's because I'm the chairman of technology and innovation at Cook County. I literally spearheaded the AI framework that protects the sensitive data of 5.2 million people in Cook County. I led the effort. Thank you. At the National Association of Counties, I sit on a couple of our tech committees, and I've been bringing forward the conversations of AI. And when I'm typically the youngest, be it commissioner, board member, supervisor, it depends on where you are in this country, what your title is. I'm usually the youngest member in those committees, and I started even asking early on when we were seeing AI start to explode, what are we going to do to address the potential job losses that we're going to see because of this? And that needs to be a focus, because what are any of our, be it our federal or local governments, going to do when the bulk of your population is now unemployed, where they're projecting that within the next decade or more, anywhere from 20 to 40, 45% of jobs could disappear. I mean, we need to prepare for that. And a lot of our government officials don't like preparing. I'm the type of leader that likes always thinking several steps ahead. That's why when I put forward big policies, I bring experts from both sides of the aisle, both opinions to the table to make sure that we are thinking of not only the best policy we could pass, but any potentially unrecognized externality that might come because of the decision we made. We have to think also into the future. And so in this moment, when it comes to AI and how I think about it, we need common sense regulations of artificial intelligence. We absolutely need it. We've got one of the companies that's backing the super PAC is Palantir. And they are currently contracted with ICE to not only map, track, and detain individuals who might not have status, but they're also using it to track American citizens who have participated in protest, which likely includes me. So that's terrifying. I mean, there was outrage when we learned what was happening in China, when they were in Xinjiang, when they were literally completely, I mean, what has happened there, and the fact that we have not used more of our pressure to help defend the Uyghur population is atrocious in and of itself. But I mean, they were constantly surveilled. You couldn't leave your house without the Chinese government knowing what street you were walking on, what turn you were going, where you were going, what you were buying. We shouldn't live in a surveillance state. And I have fears that with this type of president, he would like to see us to continue further down that path. And so what I say in this race specifically, let's not let Melissa Bean win, someone who's clearly sold their soul and has given off the impression that she wouldn't support AI regulation. And let's ensure someone who actually has a record of passing AI regulation and doing so in a thoughtful manner is the one taking the helm, who also has as a core tenet what types of jobs are going to be available for our families moving forward. How do we prepare for that? How do we retrain individuals into other types of professions if AI is going to take away from them? But also to prevent certain jobs from ever going to AI at all. Like our pilots shouldn't be run by AI. The metro shouldn't be run by AI. We shouldn't be dealing with doctors who are just robots. And there's a reason why people came up with the Terminator movie, right? Like they envisioned how bad it could be with unfettered artificial intelligence. And unfortunately, right now AI is developing at a faster pace in this moment than any human can fully comprehend. And so if we don't put safeguards in place, it puts us all at risk.
Just us.
No. I think about it a lot. It's unfortunate. But, you mentioned doom scrolling earlier too, and what I'll say about that is all we can do is focus on what we can control. That is the only reason why I have not lost my mind in this campaign. One more question?
Yeah, to piggyback on that, do any of your other opponents also get dark money from AI or any other thing that would be adverse to the outcome of our people in our district?
Well, I thank you for that question. I mentioned earlier on that of the 8 of us, 5 are multimillionaires. 4 of them were not in the district when the seat became open. 3 moved into it. 1 currently lives outside of it. Yes, our Constitution allows that to occur. You just have to live in the state. Melissa Bean lives in Quigley's district. But we saw Dan Tully, Ryan Vedicott, and Sandro Denung all move to the district to run. We've seen Melissa Bean give herself $325,000. We've seen Dan Tully give himself $500,000, and we've seen Neil Kalk give himself over $750 million in loans. And then on top of that, we also have super PACs. There are over 4.1 million, I think, as of right now, dollars spent in support of Melissa Bean in this race, which for a former congressperson, that must be a testament to how bad her support on the ground was, that you need that much of an investment. That's a lot of wasted dollars. But it also shows who people think will be fighting for their own issues if they get elected to Congress. But there's also a couple other super PACs that are involved. Dan Tully has a super PAC that has sent out almost all of his mailers called the Servant Leaders Fund, which actual core infrastructure is the same infrastructure Republican super PACs utilize, and the main donor linked to it is also a Republican. And so, there are things that are important. Like, if you look at Junaid Ahmed, he bills himself as the uber progressive in this race. Yet, when he announced and filed his first quarterly report, almost all of his contributions, the majority, were in increments from an individual at $2,000 and more. So he's got a lot of wealthy backers behind him, almost predominantly locked in within healthcare systems and some of the biggest healthcare companies, including Johnson & Johnson and CVS, have invested in his campaign. So he says he doesn't take corporate dollars, yet his biggest donors are all higher ups in corporate positions. So it's important. You can go to the FEC, any contribution over $200, you could go and look and see who has contributed to that candidate. For me, I'm proud to say that out of any candidate in this race, we've received the most small dollar contributions out of anyone, the most true grassroots support coming in small dollar increments. I've got the most contributions under $500 out of any candidate in the field. I don't have super PACs backing me. I'm not someone who has been bought by anyone and is committed to representing the people here in this district. And it's important to get clarity on all those points. And I'll end with saying, I think, I have respect for almost everyone running in this field. And I recognize the reasons they're all running. And I say, I do think that when you really look at every candidate, if you get to know them, and when you get to meet me, you could witness, hopefully, you've seen a little bit of me today, that I'm coming to this from a completely selfless manner. All I care about is making a positive impact for others. I'm not doing this to line my own pockets. And all in all, like, these are the communities I grew up in. This is where I want to invest my time. I'm giving up a job I love to run for Congress, because I could not run for both at the same time. And so I've taken a chance, and this is an important election, and it's important that we get real leaders who know how to take on Republicans and win, and know how to deliver results. I come to you before you today with both of those accomplishments behind me, but also with a coalition of grassroots support and over 190 endorsements from local leaders, because they know that even if we disagree on core issues, that I do my research and that I disagree amicably, and I'm committed to our shared constituents. Well, we've got 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Yes. I mean, we've got a fundraiser coming up this Tuesday. It's our push to the polls at Real Time Sports. We'll have 3 comedians. Patty Vasquez will be there. 6 to 8:30. The tickets aren't too expensive, but investing dollars, yes, is important to combat all the dark money coming in this race. But also, I can use volunteers. You could phone bank at our office. You could phone bank from home. You could join us knocking doors. We'll be launching out of Rolling Meadows this Saturday to hit the doors. On Sunday, I am launching with King County State's Attorney Jamie Mosser and State Representative Suzanne Ness, as well as Elgin Mayor David Captain out of East Dundee. But we're launching volunteers every single day. And another thing you can do is follow us on social media, constantly share our stuff, because like those AI bots, they all come up as sponsored, but when you press share, it is a free way for us to get our voice out to the people. But also talk to all your friends and family. If you know a few wealthy people, share out, tell them this is a good guy to invest in. Because at the end of the day, this is an investment, right? If you are electing the right person, it's an investment in our shared voice. Because no campaign is just one person, it's the community that they're building. So thank you for that question. Thank you all for being here. Join us at kevinmorrisonforcongress.com. Follow us on all social media. And we have more town halls coming up, so hopefully you can share that if you have friends that either live in Bloomingdale, Elgin, or Schaumburg areas. We've got 3 more town halls to go. Thank you.